What's happening, you guys? Getting out of class. Criminal justice studies. I love it. This is just a short video to my stepsons, Justin and Tyler Austin, and to everybody that need education on the Department of Education. Now, if you're not going to school ever in life, you don't have to worry about this. But it doesn't matter how old you are, what age you are, whether you an adult, adolescents, or even, the elderly, senior citizens. We all eligible if we want to go back to school. And I'm in school right now. Like I said, I love it. It's great. I have the best teachers. I'm in Milwaukee Area Technical College. It's affordable. Tuition, classes, and books and supplies. Now, that's what's important. Before you go into the Department of Education, you want to make sure that you have your tuition, you have the supplies, which is the bookstore to whatever your school you go to. Make sure all classes is covered, because this is important on how to find certain colleges and certain schools, because you have schools that's going to work with you. You got schools that's reasonable, and you got schools that's way too expensive. So once you figure that part out, make sure you do that. So that's a list. Check 1. Make sure you know how much your classes cost. Check 2. Make sure you know how much your supplies is going to cost, the bookstore. And check 3. Make sure you know how much your tuition is going to cost, because that's going to determine, how many loans or if you can get out of loans. Now we're going to get into the Department of Education. Nobody knows the Department of Education better than me. Now, I know them a good way. I know them a bad way. The good way, we'll talk about the good way because it's just plain and simple. It's true. You work with the Department of Education, they'll work with you. Because you have to have them in order to go to school. That's just period. There's no way around it. Like I said, if you're not in school, this message is not for you. But if you're planning on going to school or anytime in the future or far ahead, plan ahead in the future, you must deal with the Department of Education. But people has been terrified by them for years. I'm going to give you a little background of my Department of Education story. Excuse me. When I started with the Department of Education, it was in 2013. I applied for a school, and I was with somebody that was mentally incapacitated, meaning they had a lot of mental health issues and problems. And they almost damaged my schooling in the Department of Education for me, for life. I've been fighting years. Because like I said, they don't play no games. Now listen to me very closely. This is Uncle Sam. They don't play no games with you. They're not going to play with you. So it's best if you just follow the rules and do. And I'm going to give you all kind of tips so you won't be afraid of the Department of Education, so you can feel comfortable and free going to school. Because I was right where y'all was at. So I was young back then, didn't care. Like, I'm not messing with them. Because what people fail to realize too, whether you graduate from classes or not, or if it's something that you didn't want, or it's something that, you weren't interested in, you still have to pay for these classes, man. Unless a school or a deaf or hardships or, serious matters, the Department of Education work for you. They got applications for that, correct? So, it got really bad. Like, I done seen the worst of them. That's why I'm not afraid of them. And that's why I want to help millions on how to deal with them, so you won't be afraid of them, or this won't happen to you, or you won't become a victim. So I also want to give a shout out to Wanda, hi Wanda, and Rolanda Turner Smith. You guys have been so supportive to all the people in my comments. Good or bad, like I said, I appreciate all the comments about my videos. I respect you all. Thank you for your feedback, because, constructive criticism goes a long way in life. It betters yourself, it betters you mentally and physically, and help you to improve in certain areas in life. So back to the Department of Education. So I was avoiding them. You know, I thought they weren't going to mess with me. I thought I was this big shot. But then I ended up getting a letter from them talking about they was going to garnish my taxes. So this how it started. And then they started garnishing my checks, or they was about to, you know. So I'm going back and forth with them, cussing them out, everything, hanging up on them. Like I tell you, it was a mess. And then I finally landed in default, you know, because I was in default. That's another thing. If you in default, they are reliable to garnish you. What I mean by garnish you, they can take your home. They can go into your, because you got to remember, this is the government, you know what I'm saying, the United Government. They can go into your paychecks. They can go into whatever kind of money you make, you know, and if they don't get none of that, oh, they taking all those taxes. You will not have that. And I know, because like I said, I'm a victim. And we're going to try to avoid all that. So I'm going to tell y'all a few Q's and B's and tips on what to do. So what I did was I had to fight like hell, because I was in default in 2018. I am just now of last year, 2022, of coming out of default, because you have to understand, when you want certain jobs, like government jobs or be a political leader, anything like that, you cannot have defaulted loans. You cannot be into it with the Department of Education. So that's the scary part. Now we're going to make y'all comfortable and make y'all want to deal with the Department of Education part. So like I tell people, rule number 1, do not sit here and carry, like, they're going to give you a maximum, whether it's, you know, because you're eligible for Pell Grants, you're eligible for scholarships, you know, they got where the government give you another scholarship. I just found out about that. So you want to try to get as many scholarships and Pell Grants as you can, you know, because that's free money. You know, anything with free money, you don't have to pay back. But I still advise you, if you take that out, go to school, because all you got to do is show up, which is attendance, and getting good grades. And I'm gonna get on that part too. As far as attendance and good grades, like, if you keep it up, you know, the Department of Education will help you. They will fund you, as long it's like going to work. Attendance, being there, participation goes a long way in a grade at school. So you get good grades at school, your attendance, the Department of Education will fund you free money. And I'm not talking about just giving you money. I'm talking about like scholarships, you know, grants, you know, another scholarship, you know, a government grant. That's what I mean. And also, you know, rule number 2, you do not, please listen to me when I say this, because I did the same thing. Like I said, colleges are accordingly. That's where the tuition come in, the bookstore, your supplies, all of that, you know, classrooms. You want to make sure that you can afford it. Now, I was one of them people. There's a lot of victims out here all over the world. They get a maximum. It's like, you know, taking out loans. You're going to take the maximum loan. You're going to be indebted for life to pay that loan. You understand what I'm saying? So once you apply for all your scholarships, your grants, and, you know, government grants and all that stuff, you know, you want to get a total. Like I told you before, that's where the tuition and your supplies and books and everything come in. You get a total of that. And what you do is, and like I said, I pray to God that the Department of Education don't take my video down, because this is how they get us. This is how they get our people. You want to take out, like, for instance, if your class is 5,000, only take 5,000. Don't take the whole 25,000 out, because you're going to have to pay that whole 25,000. The class is 5,000, take just 5,000 out. Another thing with that, do not take that $5,000 if your income or life expense does not cover that. If you know you cannot pay $5,000 out of your check, you don't make that, you don't make close to that, do not take the loan out. Period. Do not, I will repeat, do not take the loan out. Just stick with the grants. Just stick with the, you know, Pell Grant scholarships and stuff like that. Because if you do, you're going to fall right into their trap. and you will be indebted in life to them. That's the scary part. The number 3, the other thing is you want to pick a school according to your budget. Okay, like tuition, like I said, your books, that's where all that come in play. The classroom supplies, where you can afford, like me, for instance. I'm gonna use myself for example. At first I was supposed to go to Kaiser University. Okay, let's talk about my financial aid. My financial aid, not only it didn't even cover half of my tuition, because you got to remember, I still got half of my tuition I need to pay for my classroom, my books and supplies. It didn't cover none of that. So you know what I would have had to do? Because it's, to be in law enforcement and criminal justice, police officer, that's 10 grand. Can it be paid? Can it be affordable? Absolutely. So what I had to do was, because that school was too expensive, and that's what a lot of other things, another trick. The colleges are going up on intuition. That's how they getting people. By them going up on the intuitions in school, they put more people like us, or people in middle class or poor, indebted to them. So what I'm saying is, because people are like, well, I can't fulfill my dream, I can't go to school. Well, let me ask you this. Do you want to find a school, and I'm going to get there, where you can afford the intuition, the books, the classrooms, and supplies, or you want to go to expensive, a pricey school where you'll be indebted to life to the Department of Education? And if you don't pay it, well, we already know the repercussions, because we've been there. They're going to garnish your wages. They could take your property, seize your property, take all your money, and especially your taxes. So, 4th thing you should do, like I said, I'm stressing this because I want y'all to know, I want to see y'all go to school, but I don't want y'all to be frightened of going to school or frightened of the Department of Education like I was. I was terrified of them. I actually had to grow balls just to fight them with the Lord. That's how serious it was, because I made them last on my list. That's how terrified I was of them. That's how terrified I was of them, because I knew, and that's another thing, you can't run from them. You're not going to get out. All they're going to do is keep charging you interest. You have to take care of. The other thing you can do is file bankruptcy. It's supposed to be going into law where if you file bankruptcy, our president's in the process of doing that they'll wipe it out. But remember, these loans ain't going nowhere, and this is the government of the United States. They must be paid. But there's around a way where you don't have to get loans, and you can deal with the Department of Education. Or if you do get loans, make sure it's affordable so you can get it done and over with and be done with them. That's what you got to do. You have to pick a school that's according to your budget. You do that. Isn't that more important than going to school, than trying to pick out a pricey school, or school that you can't afford, and you got to take all these loans out and everything, and you indebted for life for them? That's how they get. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to tell you, to my stepsons, to everybody across the world, we all can go to school. You go whenever you're ready, whenever the timing is right. Just don't be a victim of the Department of Education. Pick a school that, like for instance, I'm in MATC, right? So I told you that Kaiser didn't even cover half. But look at this. Now that I'm in MATC, guess what? My tuition is covered. My classes is covered. My books, supplies is covered. Everything. And I still got money left over. Now, isn't that great? It feels good too. Then wondering how I'm going to come up with if I was at Kaiser University, the other half and the $2,000 for tuition. Man, my hairs was turning gray. I said, I'm not going to do that, because God was testing me to see if I learned from my mistake with the Department of Education the first time I passed the test. So I just wanted to do a quick video with y'all, because I want to see our people make it. Y'all know I'm going to school for criminal justice studies, to be a police officer. I'm also want to do private investigating. Like y'all gonna see me doing some cases where I'll get my analysis and see if it's in my blood, see how gifted and talented I am. So I definitely want y'all feedback for that, just be respectable. But I just wanted to do this video for y'all because I really want to see our people make it. And you don't have to be afraid of the Department of Education. You don't have to be terrified. Don't let them terrify you. Just remember the keys and remember the tips. Just make sure that you pick a school that's affordable. You make sure you have all that information together. Like I said, tuition, your books, and your classroom supplies, all that together. And you go through your budget and you choose a college or a school that you can afford. Other steps is make sure you get all your scholarships, your government grants, Pell Grants, all the things that require free money for you to go to school with. And if you do have to deal with the loans, and if you do have to deal with the Department of Education, make sure it's something you can afford. When I say that, it's the exact amount you need for whatever you need it for, less of amount, and you will make it. Don't ever, and I'm stressing this to everybody, ever, 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 ever. This is how they get people, the Department of Education. Don't ever go to expensive school. You know you can't afford it. All your options are out because you took all your grants and scholarships and stuff. And you got this maximum loan they want to give you. If you cannot cover it, do not take it out. If you do, you will not only be indebted to the Department of Education, you will have to pay for that for the rest of your life, including death. So please, my people, take heed to what I said, because I was a victim. And it takes one to know one. And I want to help you. We all can go to school. Just remember what I said. God bless and have a good night.